Yep, disappointing with Sammy. Sammy's omission was pretty straightforward. So was Tupou's. Disappointed for him, because he was a form lock, so it was a great opportunity. But it is what it is, and I think we'd flagged earlier that we were pretty keen to play around with Dalton at 6, and effectively went with a lot of the guys that have a bit of time last week and just take the learnings on from last week to this week.
Would you have preferred to have another look at Scott at 6 in an ideal world?
Yep.
What are your expectations then of Dalton moving onto that blind side this week?
Oh, he's a different 6, isn't he? But it's a hard ground under a roof. Expect the game to be fast, and I think Dalton's a very physical player in his own right, but he's also very quick and offers a different sort of skill set in that space. So again, it's a great opportunity for us to do that, and whilst it's in the starting role, it also is something that we'll be looking to cover within a 23 down the track. So it's a good chance to do that. And secondly, I think with the likes of Akira and Nepo and to a lesser extent David Havili, the 3 guys that are right but still got little wee niggles, and this has given us a chance to sort of give them another week to actually make sure that when they do get their opportunity, they're jumping out of their skin.
Cool, we'll go to Hayden in the front.
Goodness me. We'll be a little bit local yokel and ask about Falau Fakatava. Ian, what have you told Falau? What do you want to see from him on Saturday?
I just want to see his teeth, and I want to see that big smile, and him to go out and enjoy doing what he does, and first test is always a big occasion, but it's kind of twice as big when you're playing your home ground, and he's really clear over the last 2 or 3 weeks about the role of a 9, but the flip side of it is that he's got his own little way of expressing himself that we don't want to inhibit either. So do his basic job and get excited about the little wee holes that he might be able to find later on.
How does he seem to you right now? Does he seem excited, nervous?
Yeah, both those. Yeah. And that's pretty natural. And that's good.
Elliot?
Also, what will you want him back into the 23? You mentioned ease those players back in. Would they all have been right to go post-COVID this week?
Yep. Officially, yes. David, yes. Jack, yes. And David's had a sore neck through the playoffs and progressed really, really well through last week. Ironically, COVID probably gave him a chance to rehab that. He probably was a 3 out of 10 before. It's probably about a 8 out of 10 now. So it's a chance just to finish that off more than anything. But no, overall pretty good. The feedback was that Will was probably a day or so ahead aerobically in terms of his recovery. He'd done a little bit more and felt really comfortable doing that in the latter stage of his isolation, and so he's hit the ground running.
And Patrick coming back off the bench as well. Obviously played in rugby in New Zealand this year. What kind of shapes here, and with players come back from Japan, maybe be a bit slow to adapt back to the New Zealand side?
Yeah, really good. I mean, we kept in touch with him over there, and he was working on speeding up his movements and his game, and certainly has done that. Like he's leaner. Look, he's excited. It is earlier than expected, but these things happen nowadays. Look, he's done a lot of work in the last 2 or 3 days, and it's great to see him back.
Cool, we'll go over here. Alex or Liam?
Yeah, Ian, just maybe one change. So I guess rewarding a lot of the players last week. What more do you want to see from them as you progress your first test to second?
Yeah, just I think when we turned up in that first week, we had sort of so many players with niggles and stuff like that it's been a slow burn getting this group ready. We felt that last week we got some really good progress in some things that we want to achieve, and best way to cement some of that, I think, is to reward the effort that they put in, and also to use the experience they had of playing against the Irish to actually, try to grow and cement some things that we're really trying to grow this year. So that's the main reason. And just felt that making too many changes right now would sort of just maybe take us back a cog in terms of that learning.
Just the selection of Dalton at 6, has it changed the dynamic of your set piece, the ability to, target the Irish line out in particular with the bigger body there? And Scott Barrett last week?
It just changes the way that we have to go about it. Clearly, it's not the same sort of mix, but we've got to be good enough to adapt to that, and it kind of wasn't, like I said, I think it's fair to say we probably would have looked at Scooter again. We really enjoyed his game, and I think you'll see him there again at some stage. But for now, it's a chance for us to look at, probably where we could have ended up in the second half last week, which is, 3 more mobile Lucies who, play a little bit similar. But, Dalton's a tough rugby player, and he's physical in the tackle, and he's quick. And so, it just gives us a different dynamic, but clearly set piece will be a little bit affected.
I suppose this is the beauty and rarity of playing the same team every week, but I suppose how challenging has it been this week, knowing that you guys need to be better? You guys have said you need to be better, but then also knowing the Irish are probably going to have a few more answers for you guys. So how challenging has this week been?
Yeah, the second week's always tough like that. It's a 3-test program. We want to win the series, and so that means this week for us. And I think we saw last week that there were 2 very good rugby teams on the park, and we've said it before the series. This was the series we wanted because it was a chance for us to test some things against a quality Northern Hemisphere team, and get some good information over this 3 series. So the nice thing is that we know how much they want it. We saw that last Saturday, so we know they're going to be desperate to keep the series alive, and so we've got a pretty clear. We shouldn't be surprised that we're going to have to get it go up and progress. And so we've spoken about that, but talking's one thing and doing's another thing. But we're pretty determined.
Did you see many changes in the Ireland game plan from last week in November? Had they evolved in any way, or was it kind of similar to what you guys faced in Dublin? Probably very much the same. I think, and that's a compliment to them more than anything. I think they've played a bit of rugby since then. Whereas we hadn't, and they'd played the Six Nations in between those 2 windows you've suggested, and we saw some change in there. So look, they're a smart rugby team, and they're trying to evolve what they do as well. And I think everyone's in that space nowadays. But we saw a team that's got pretty good understanding of what they want to achieve, and so their clarity of roles and their intentions and how they move collectively as a group is really strong. It's probably their best strength, and so that makes them a hard team to break down. So, and I'm pretty sure they'll pick up a few things, and I'm pretty sure they didn't enjoy last week in terms of the result. And I know that they're a smart rugby team, and they'll come back strong.
Yep, Elliot.
Ian, just on Aidan Ross, he's sort of been on the fringe for a couple of seasons now finally gets his opportunity. What have you seen from him since he's been here?
Well, basically been absolutely delighted with him. For someone coming in first time in the All Blacks, I've been massively impressed with him. He's done his work. His eyes are up. He got a glint in his eye. Even when he wasn't playing, he was seeking to understand and learn, and he wasn't holding back in anything that he did. And if you think about it, that's probably how he's played the last couple of years. He's a guy that has worked really, really hard on aspects of his game to get selected, and I love those stories because it's he's earned his jersey over a number of years of progressing.
Cool. Last question. Oh, Paul. Yep.
Can you explain why Sam Whitelock's out for 12 days and Johnny Sexton is apparently going to be available? Because just the general rugby public has a little bit of difficulty understanding the differences in approaches. Can you talk to that a little bit?
I can't answer that question from their perspective because I don't know the circumstances. What I do know is from our perspective, like with Sammy, is the protocols are crystal clear. Is if it looks like you've taken a knock and then you fail an HIA, you go to a 12-day program, and that's pretty crystal clear to us.
Does Sam have
Is there a concussion history? I think World Rugby's calling it 5 concussions over a career. Does that kick in Sam's case?
No, actually, to be fair, I'm not sure, but he's been around a while, so potentially. But I'd say that's a pretty, that would be pretty similar in both the cases you've talked about.
Is it fair to say you're surprised that Johnny Sexton is going to be playing this weekend then?
I don't know that he is playing, so
If he is,
I don't know that he is.
would you be surprised if he was playing?
Well, I guess it'd be, if all I know is the protocols that we're trying to apply by are pretty simple and clear to understand.